the title of our podcast today, if anything, is how does breaking news affect social media? Welcome back to another episode of the Monarch Social Podcast, where we discuss all things digital media marketing.
Yes, in hopes to give you, the viewers at home, just a little bit of insight into this digital world, which we all live in.
Welcome to the show. So we have some really cool things planned today. But before we jump into that, Koa, how was your week?
It was a good week, man. Like I said, we have a very interesting show coming up, and there's a lot of things that have been going on, and as far as work goes, it's been really good. We've been knocking things out, getting things off the plate, just keep on keeping on, you know?
We mentioned last week that we were doing interviews, so we've continued to do interviews this week.
Yes.
Still narrowing down that. Haven't come to any conclusions.
Yes. The biggest thing is when it comes to interviews is I do not want to hire somebody off of the sole purpose of like, okay, we just need to hire
We just need someone
specific. It's like I want us to get the right person in here because I fully believe that hiring the right person makes a big difference. It's gonna be a game changer.
The old adage where it's like hire slow, fire fast.
Yes.
We are trying to do that, and like you said, we're not trying just to like jump the gun. Because
no, I don't want to jump the gun at all. I'm like,
that'll be an expensive mistake if we do. So
very much.
So as of right now, we're still in the hiring process, and that takes a lot.
Well, we've only had like 4 or 5 interviews, something like that.
5 or so interviews.
Yeah, something
like that.
Once we've had like 10, 20, then I'll be like, okay, maybe we should pick out of this pool of people. But out of 5, I feel like there's still, that rare person.
Now the other thing, speaking about this week, obviously, is the current events.
Yeah, so I guess that's like the big elephant in the room.
Yeah, the big and that's currently happening right now. Excuse me, of everything that's happening in Ukraine.
Yes.
In Russia. And so the title of our podcast today, if anything, is how does breaking news affect social media? And so that's what we're going to jump into, because I think it's very, very interesting how social media is used these days.
Yes.
So
how it's a lot more than just here's what I'm eating this morning for lunch. And
it's changed from that Instagram, oh my God, like I took a picture of my coffee, to like huge news events.
Yes. I feel like it has turned, and it's honestly one of the most used sources for news. For our generation, I feel like
it's undoubtedly probably one of the top things that's used for is news, is breaking news, is learning current events, especially in our generation and younger. Mm-hmm. When I think of my parents or the older generation, I feel like it's very normal for them to have like a TV station, a news network. That's what I was looking for.
This is my source of news.
I love CNN or Fox News. And you just do not see that in our generation at all anymore. Like,
honestly, I think it's quite the opposite. I feel like our generation almost looks at all of these reputable news stations that you see on TV, CNN, Fox, so on and so forth. And everybody our age is dissecting everything that they're saying and trying to be like, hey, that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. Instead of being like open to the idea, it's more of like we're closed off and we're like, hey, we know, we're almost like, I hate to say like we're woke. But it feels like that's what our generation is kind of doing, and calling out bullshit.
I think it's opened up our eyes. Everyone has at their fingertips a device that has access to the outside world other than those stations. Mm-hmm. And let's say back in the day, I'm not going to say the olden days, but I'm just saying back before pre-social media and access to the internet, you would get your news from like the TV and radio, and then like that's where you got your news, and there was select stations, and that if you heard it through the radio or heard it through your TV, that's what was true.
That was true.
And what's happened in our society and in the world, not just our society but all over the world, is that you have the opportunity to look at multiple different news networks, multiple different viewpoints. One of the things that stands out to me, and I would love to talk about even more, is how a majority of the news and current events that happen, I don't even use real networks I use kind of civilians, like just regular people, to get news now. And I think that we live in a time that makes that so interesting on how that works.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you this. I was gonna say, what is making social media such a news mecca? Like, what is social media offering that is more appealing to people our age?
Well, the biggest thing that's happened is it's much like the Twitch effect, the live streaming. And so when you first had Facebook and you first had Instagram, you couldn't go live, right? You could not go live. And even on YouTube, you couldn't go live for a long time. But when you got these streaming platforms where you can be live, see exactly what's happening in real time, I think that changed the battleground, that changed the landscape, if you will, of where you get your news.
Almost like reporting. Reporting live, literally reporting live. And I totally agree with that. I feel like the whole having zero disconnect from where it's actually happening to actually being broadcasted right to your phone, whatever you're looking at. I think that's the big X factor for me, at least, because now you know it's coming directly from the source, from whoever's on the ground, wherever they're at. No editing through it. It's all live.
Yeah, and you can see that happening right now. And I'm sure that the majority of our listener base is in Utah, in Salt Lake. Excuse me. But you can see that happening even with our local news stations. They go live. I get notifications when KSL and live. Channel 4 goes live, and you can see exactly what's happening. Like when there was a electric transformer that blew up the other night in a car garage. I don't know if you saw that, but they went live and I could see it.
Well, dude, I would say for me, where it really hit home was when they were doing all the protests and everything.
The protest was a huge one.
Because it was crazy. You could see hundreds of different viewpoints of the same thing going on, but you were seeing it from different phones from all over the place. Like when they did the whole... They burned that car right in front of the library. Yeah. I saw every single angle of where that car was. Of where that was. Because of social media. And the precursor of that going live was the tweets. And I feel like even before the going live and following stuff like right away, I would get on Twitter just to see the latest trends, and you can click latest and you see not just your friends list. And that's the thing that really stuck out to me on the Twitter front for news and breaking current events, things that are happening. Anything that's just happening right now that there's not an official announcement of.
I would use Twitter.
100%.
So, I mean, that happens with us all the time. Like if internet's down, I go to Twitter.
Yeah. If we're having an issue with the different software, it's like, hey, just search on Twitter and see what people are saying.
Yeah, is Adobe down? Yeah. Is Discord servers down? We use Discord. We talked about Discord in our podcast so many times, but if that's down, I jump on Twitter.
Just search Discord.
And that is so helpful. And then that turned into live streaming. And now you see companies using TikTok where they go live. They use Instagram to go live. They use Facebook to go live. This new way of getting news is very interesting to me because, and even stations are on there, obviously, but I love seeing multiple viewpoints, multiple standpoints of what's happening. And so
and cross checking different events that are going on.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is let's talk about what's happening, currently. And I have some key points here on my computer in front of me. But I would love to kind of walk you through how this Ukraine thing happened to me and just kind of show you how I stumbled on it and how I got involved in it, because I don't have cable at home. I don't have, like a network at home. I don't watch just live TV. Like I don't do that.
I feel like it's more and more popular.
But what I did, and I said this last week, that gamers are humans too, is I was on Twitch, bro. I was on Twitch and I was seeing, it was late at night. It was like 8 o'clock or so. I don't know, right before 8 o'clock. And I'm going through Twitch, a streaming service for the older people in our
you don't know what
listening.
Twitch is.
But I was watching Twitch, and one of the channels that popped up on the IRL in real life streams was a guy called Agenda Free TV. And it's just a guy. It's not like a real news station or anything like that, but he was covering the crisis in Ukraine. And so I put him on just to see what he was about. I put on this Agenda Free TV.
So wait, have you been following this guy?
No, he was
just on the trending in real life.
It was just trending, and he had a lot of viewers on there on the Twitch homepage. Right. So I turned him on, and what he does, he's just a one dude and it looks like he's in a newsroom, but he's just in his apartment in like Florida. And he goes through the Twitter stuff and he kind of like follows the news. And one of the things that he was doing, he was looking at the flights, a flight tracker out of Ukraine. And immediately he saw, and I'm watching this live, he saw planes getting diverted out of Ukrainian airspace. And in my brain, I was like, dude, what the heck? Like, you don't do that unless there's a huge problem. Like you do not divert flights out of a whole country unless there's...
say this airspace is no longer safe to be in, essentially.
And so, I mean, there's photos out there of this flight tracker with all the flights, and they're literally all around Ukraine, and there's nothing going through Ukraine. Well, I saw this happen live, of the flights being diverted outside of Ukraine.
Interesting.
So what I did, I went straight to Twitter, and I was like, what the heck? Started looking on Twitter. Well, someone had posted a live camera feed from Ukraine on YouTube. So I go to YouTube, and now I'm on YouTube, and I'm watching this live camera feed from Ukraine inside my house, and I turn it on, and as soon as I turn it on, within 10 minutes, I saw on a live camera feed bombings and missile strikes. And
this is unannounced. This is unannounced. Because this is live. This is as it's happening.
This is as it's happening.
The power of the internet, full flood. Like
there's no news station that is even talking about this.
This is street cam.
Dude, I followed the breadcrumbs, but I followed social media breadcrumbs. It's not like ABC or CNN or Fox News were reporting about this. I saw a guy on Twitch streaming about it, and I noticed the flight tracker was off. I went to Twitter. Someone had posted a live cam to YouTube. I went to YouTube Live. I'm watching this thing. It's live. I see missile strikes.
Gotcha.
Saw that before any news station reported on it. I saw it live.
Yeah.
And
Which makes sense.
I called you.
I know. And I was on a call, and I was like, I wonder what's going on. Because you didn't double call me, so I didn't call you immediately back. But I was super excited that you told me this because
I was freaking out.
I had been following it myself, not quite as in depth, but just like obviously keeping an eye on what's going on in the world and everything. And then when you called me, and I was so happy that you didn't share a freaking news article with me, because that's typically how it goes.
No, I sent you the live camera feed.
Exactly. And as soon as I saw it was live, I was like, dude, that's our generation of like consuming news and getting our own input. I feel like that's really the pinpoint of it, is like, we want to know for ourselves. We don't want to have anybody else feed us this information. We want to figure it out.
Because I know that
from the ground up.
Because I know that there's someone in that area that has access to the internet, that has their phone out.
Yes.
And they're tweeting about it, or they're taking photos and they're sharing it. And I feel like you can find that now. You don't have to wait till a news source tells you that. Which, I mean, I'm not like anti-news stations, by the way.
But it's almost like take it with a grain of salt.
It's just faster, and you can see really cool stuff happening. And then when I saw those happen, right, like when you didn't answer my call at first, I'm on a group message with my sister and a friend, and I voice messaged them, and I was like, I don't know if you're following this Ukraine Russian stuff, but shit's getting crazy. Like, I still
happening. This isn't a drill.
I was like, it's happening, and I still have that message like in that group chat. We just listened to it right before this, me and my sister. So anyways, that's how I figured out about this Ukraine stuff. And then I went deep and I jumped into this. And now since Wednesday, I think that was Wednesday night, our time. Yep. And since then, dude, we've had it on in the office. We've had live cams up.
Cams. I'm not kidding you. We have I feel like we've got every single main city covered. We have 8 live cameras up right now behind here, just in case anything. And it's not like, it's just to be aware of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I like seeing it in real time.
Yeah, I love seeing it in real time. I love seeing that it's like, you know, the way I would do it, that I've done it in the past, and like I go back to the incident that we had here in Salt Lake, was I would go on Snapchat and I go over to the little map, because it shows the whole world and you can see snaps from all over the world, which outside of any crazy current event, just go and look at Snapchats from all over the place. It's actually it's super, super fascinating. You can see things in like Southeast Asia, the way they snap, versus people in Europe, the way they snap. It's cool that you can see all that. And that's what I would go. I went to Ukraine, and I've gone through and seen their snaps and see what people are actually posting live.
That's the craziest thing, is I think that there's going to be people that have their favorite platforms where to get their news, whether it's TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's all these different
Discord has been
huge. There's a whole Discord servers full of breaking news in Ukraine right now. Yeah. There's tons of servers that you can go find and join. Now that brings me to another point, though. that I want to bring up is there. I have a few quotes here that pertain to our breaking news.
Headline?
How does it affect social media, right? So this is one thing that we have to discuss on our podcast right now, being that we live in social media land. Like, this is what we do. Like, this is our thing, right? We've been doing it. They had a really good quote, and I agree with it 100%. It says, while adding a social element to news, it's undoubtedly engaged more young people in current events, but it's also created divisions, increased the spread of false information, and allowed people to avoid opposing points of views by remaining inside a social circle of like-minded friends. And that's from Common Sense Media. And that is so true. And what I mean, and what that means, how I interpret that is there are going to be people that have their same type of views, and that's who they only follow.
Yes.
And so what has happened, and I would love to even talk about this with the Ukraine stuff, is misinformation and fake news, the dreaded fake news conversation. That's always been a problem on social media.
Yep.
But I have personally seen fake news so much with just this Ukraine crisis that's happening right now.
Right.
We saw videos that were
video games.
They were using Arma 3. If you guys don't know a video game, there's an Arma 3 video game.
Extremely realistic.
It's extremely realistic. And they were using footage from that and saying that was Russia attacking in Ukraine. I've seen footage from early 2000s and 2001 being used and passed off as the crisis in Ukraine. And so then it comes to this: if you're getting your news from social media, how do you know it's true? How do you know it's real? And I think, like this line says, is it's created this hard thing where it's hard to accept opposing different views and following people that you don't necessarily agree with. And I think that's a healthy kind of standpoint to take, is gathering your news from multiple different sources
and cross-checking
outside of your circle, and cross-checking and really being sure of like where your source is coming from. For example, I follow a lot of business guys on Twitter, like a lot of entrepreneurs, and there's one that I follow, and I followed him for about 2 years now, but he has his main business in Ukraine. He does a virtual assistant business, and he employs Ukrainians to be virtual assistants. Well, anyways, I followed this guy for like 2 years. He has an awesome business, and he is in Kyiv. Well, he was in Kyiv. He's left by now. But I got to follow his tweets, and I got to really see the other side of things of when the media started picking this stuff up, not the social media, when the media news outlets started picking up the crisis in Ukraine, it looked like a video game. It looked like Call of Duty, where there was just like
active bombings,
and there is, and don't get me wrong, there is, but the intensity of them and the frequency of them,
they make it feel like you could walk outside and feel like you're in the middle of a gunfight right there, and there, everywhere.
And just to cross-check that guy, one of my favorite YouTubers ever is Bald and Bankrupt. If you've never watched his channel, I encourage you to go watch Bald and Bankrupt's channel. It's one of my favorite YouTubes out there. But what he does is he's an Englishman who speaks multiple languages, but he loves the Baltic states, he loves the Slavic states, and he loves Russia, and he goes over there and he gets to just have this little adventure where he goes and meets people, and he takes the trains and he has a beer with people, and he's awesome. But anyways, he's in Kyiv right now. And he posted this morning. When I woke up, I saw him post this morning. He was in Maidan Square, in the dead center of Kyiv.
The one that you see on all the TVs.
And he's just talking, and he's like, guys, yeah, like the sirens have gone off, like the airstrike sirens have gone off a couple times. He's like, but everyone's out walking. He's like, you can see cars driving, they're doing their thing. Babushkas, like old grandmas, they're out walking and
trying to live like a normal life in what they're doing.
And so all I'm saying is that misinformation can be spread so quickly on social media. It's one of the problems with social media that we have is you get these fear-mongering people, and that's the thing where it comes really hard. It gets really hard to even dissect or split those things.
Well, I was gonna say, what are some things to look out for? Because I personally feel like you can categorize like fake news into almost two different categories, where it's like, especially going with everything that's going on right now, you have those people that are just trying to get the hype for their own page even.
Well, that's what
they're trying to release a crazy, outlandish video, and that's something to watch out for.
And that's what I was going to say. So a lot of these things that happen with Ukraine, and watching the things that happen in Ukraine, you go to their page, and even on TikTok, I saw this where people were talking, like showing these videos from Ukraine, and Ukraine in parentheses, like not really Ukraine. And you go to their page and it's a meme page that has nothing to do with Ukraine. And all of a sudden they're getting these videos that are like breaking news videos. Like that's a red flag to me.
Huge red flags.
Another one on Twitter is the same thing, where they're like brand new accounts. So they'll start posting stuff and you go to their account, they have like 0 followers. Their account was made this year, like things like that.
There's obvious red flags. And that's a big thing with the trending pages. Like when you go to search a trend, like on Twitter, for example, and you search a specific topic and look at their trending or their latest, you will definitely see things that are fake. Like you will. It's almost a guarantee you're going to, while scrolling through, you'll find something that is fake.
Yeah.
And so you have to do your own research on each individual post that you have any interest in. You have to be like, hey, let me fact check this. And luckily, a lot of like-minded people are out there, because I've had multiple videos where I've seen it. I'm like, wow, that looks crazy. Go through the comments and somebody will be like, oh, this was actually debunked. This was from a different time period. This isn't even from this.
And I think that's why I am so hesitant just to reshare. Like if you look at my social media, I am so hesitant to even reshare stuff until I know for a fact that is like it's real. And unfortunately what happens, there's some people that are, quote, trigger happy. Yes. They see something and they automatically are like, oh shit, that's real. Share. Yes.
And I have even been victim to that. We won't go into what it was, but like I saw something that I was like so against when I saw it. I reshared it, reposted it. Come to find out, months later, I was completely
wrong,
misled by this video. I was completely misled by the situation. The way that they had it made it one-sided when it was actually completely on the opposite side.
Yep. And I think
I'm super hesitant. And it's crazy to think that like we have been in this digital world for so long. Like I feel like I know the ins and outs. I know the red flags to look for.
Yeah.
But the thing is, dude, scams and false information, they're getting so creative.
They're getting so good.
They're getting so good at it. Man. And I don't know if we talked about this, but like I got scammed with this whole NFT thing.
NFTs, you were scammed.
I'm like, dude, I'm on the internet all the time. I know, and I even went through the checklist to make sure. Still got scammed. And it's like, dude, this is what the world is like. It's almost like a humbling moment where it's like, yeah, you need to really be on top of your game now, because all these other people are definitely on top of their game. And so to be able to flourish in this industry, in this world, you need to just make sure you're not slipping. You know what I mean?
And I would that's my air of caution is if I don't see it with my own 2 eyes, like a live feed, or they're people that I actually trust and know, or that I've followed for years, and all of a sudden they're posting stuff that is happening to them, not just what they're sharing from another source, but like things that are happening to them, then I feel really comfortable that stuff's true.
That's true.
And so this is just,
that's why I really like the live cams, because it's like you can't argue with a live cam. It's literally being broadcasted live.
And that's what a lot of people are saying,
no narrative behind it.
Like when these big, huge media outlets are posting about this crazy stuff, and it looks like it's just rapid fire stuff, but then you go to the multiple live cams, and unfortunately, that's just not what's happening in that spot. And I'm not saying that it's not happening in other places, but how they compact it into one spot.
Right.
That's where that misinformation looks like there's it's completely different.
Dude, that's how I felt with. They had everything going on with what is called Kyiv. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at it on the news, I was thinking that the whole entire area was just absolutely under attack. Going to Snapchat, and literally the first couple snaps is like, it's not as crazy as people are thinking.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty calm right now.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong.
That's from on the ground.
Kyiv is a large city. It's the capital.
It is a big city.
And there's only so much that you can see on live cams and stuff. But when you see multiple people that and they're reporting on it, and they're literally on video showing you the streets of Kyiv.
From a normal civilian standpoint.
From a normal civilian, not a reporter.
We're not saying a trooper or anything. Like, obviously, the circumstances are different for certain areas in Kyiv that are tied to the military, but we're talking like the news is making it seem like regular civilians are out here in a complete panic. It's a complete frenzy. When in all reality, from Snapchat, I saw this guy post this 15 minutes ago. it's not that case. He's walking, like going to work, going to try to get his normal coffee, saying that businesses are open like normal.
Like one of the things that like blew my mind is if you watch the live streams in Kyiv or Sumy or Odessa or any one of those cameras, and they're saying that they're being invaded and there's this huge war. If you watch the live cams, you see like cars just driving, obeying the traffic laws. Dude, if I was getting bombed left and right, dude, I would not care about a goddamn red light. Yeah, I'll tell you that. Anyways, so misinformation, that's a big thing that we want to say is breaking news affects your perception greatly of what's going on and how it's going on. So I think
and don't be so quick to jump the gun on
exactly.
A thought. Be open to the idea of it being something that's maybe not what the news media is saying exactly. And just do your own research.
And coming from a man that lives on social media, that this is my job, this is my profession, my career, I'm warning about that misinformation and just being really sure of what you guys share, where you're getting your news source from, and then getting uncomfortable and getting outside of your circle of friends and the circle of accounts that you follow on social media. Really put yourself out there and really look at social media, because there's a lot that it has to offer, whether it's on Twitter under trending and the latest, and you can see everything that's under there, or trying a new platform like TikTok and seeing who's on live on TikTok, or even Twitch. We have Twitch pulled up right now with a couple cams in our office. I
think that would be cool. What do you use? Like, what is your process of?
Well, like I said, I'm on everything, and so I'm very
like your typical process. Like you see something from one outlet, and then what do you do after you see it? Whether it be Twitch, Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter is probably where I fact check most of the things.
That's immediate. So you see some sort of news thing, something that's eye catching, and you want to fact check it, see if it's true.
Let's see
straight to Twitter.
Yeah, let's see if
I do the same.
Let's see if anything else is being posted about that, and let's see if that news source is reputable. If it's a journalist, if it's just a random account, if it's a real person. I think there's tons of things to consider, but. It's our day and age, misinformation is huge, and I had to bring that up while this is happening because we've seen it with our own two eyes in the last 2 days more than anything.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's kind of great. I think it's super fascinating. It's crazy to see that our generation has kind of pivoted the way it is to news sources. Now I also see there's threats in that way too, and I don't know if I want to go into depth on it, but there's obviously threats of this misled information. I mean, you have people that are influencers per se, and you want to trust what they're saying, but on the back end, they're getting paid by somebody else, just as if a news station gets paid by whoever to report their narrative.
There's influencers that have been paid to report certain ways.
And that's one big issue I can see coming up in future days, just with how we get our news now and how we feel like we trust a person rather than a news station. Not to say that person can't be just as corrupt as the news station. I mean, it's obviously a way easier target to turn.
There's so many different talking points I feel that we could talk about.
I know. I know that this isn't like the most relevant to like marketing per se. I wish we should do like a podcast. Let's
a political podcast.
Like I don't want to go crazy political, but maybe I don't know. Web3 is like my big trend right now because
Web3 is going to be
Web3 is going to be like decentralized. Like everybody's going to be their own entity. They can like report how they want. There's no real rules to things like. Maybe we start like a Web3 podcast.
Something to consider. If you guys want to hear us do that, let us know in the comments.
Drop it in the comments.
Monarch
Web3 at night.
The other thing that this has happened with breaking news and stuff like that, and it's just an observation of Morgan, is everyone has a goddamn opinion about everything. And there are some people out there that feel like they have to tweet or respond to every little thing. Which I think is just so frustrating. And there's like these funny things going on in Twitter land and these different social platforms where it says, man, a lot of crypto experts became war experts today. And how true is that? Like where you'll get on social media and someone will make a post about parenting and all of a sudden the comment section is all about, oh, you're parenting wrong, you're parenting right. Actually, I'm do this. Same with crypto, same with NFTs. And now all of a sudden with this crisis, this war that's happening or whatever you want to call it, now all these experts come out. And so I came across this guy on Twitter and he had some really awesome things to say that really resonated with me in that same vein. And I just want to read it. It comes from Nathan Albach. So you can go follow him. But he says, social media has broken some people's brains into thinking they need to follow and have a take on every major event 24/7. This has never been the case in all of human history until recently for a select number of information addicts who can't log off. Here's some things to consider. If you're a reporter, researcher, someone impacted by an event, or someone supporting a cause related to it, then following along, sharing resources, and rallying people makes sense. If you have no reason to follow outside hobbyism, media addiction, or ego, it's okay to log off. Posting alone isn't activism. It just makes us feel validated, which is fine on its own, but gets weird during global crises when it's framed like a necessary public service or legitimate way to process things. We get rewarded when we post, it's important. And it's important. We get rewarded when we post. It's important to acknowledge that. If you have a goal of posting, or any means, you have to inspire people to care. Using guilt shame tactics doesn't work. I've been seeing a lot of logging off is a privilege talk, which is a counterproductive framing that people selectively use to grandstand, not persuade. Most people, regardless of their personal or socioeconomic circumstance, are not politically active people, especially not online 24/7. And many of those who just consume news intermittently while trying to get by each day, they're not in the trenches on Twitter. It's okay to log off. You can be a witness to those suffering without being logged on 24/7. You can comfort loved ones without being logged on 24/7. You can share opinions, aid, or resources without being logged on 24/7. I promise that your character isn't defined by your constant online presence. I thought that was an awesome thing because what we see is amidst that misinformation, when breaking news happens, there are those people that are literal internet trolls that live to respond to every comment, to be a professional, and the resident PhD of the group, that they know everything, whether they're the expert of crypto or the expert of war or the expert of NFTs or whatever it is during the case.
And I feel like it's just more people that are just like opinionated. They're not even experts in the field. They just have their opinion, and so it's like, I'm right.
Well, you have
no matter my whatever it is, I'm right, and I need to share my 2 cents on this subject.
Well, like Nathan says in this, like, you have to understand that when you make a post, social media companies have made it feel like gambling. You get a response from that when someone likes that hit of dopamine, when they like your tweet, when they like your post, when they like your photo. That's a hit of dopamine. And so you have to know, like, when you're posting just to post, like, that you're being validated, and it's okay to be self-aware of that, but you don't have to live online 24/7 for these things, because it just is going to clutter up everyone's timeline and feed, and
especially with breaking news, I feel like it's so vulnerable to persuade it in a way that might not be accurate.
Yeah, so much. And especially if you're not an expert, like at first we were going to talk about kind of more Ukraine, Russia tensions and stuff, but dude, I'm not an expert at that shit.
Yeah,
neither are you.
Exactly. There's no reason.
That we should even talk about that.
Even our views on it, like even if we feel strongly about that way, it's such a new event, and there's just not enough information out there to really have like a opinion to share with people that would be like, hey, I know this is accurate.
But
because we don't know this is completely accurate. We can tell you like this is what we've seen. Everything we've talked about today is stuff that we've seen.
Yeah.
But it's not strategy behind everything that we're seeing, and like because we just don't know that.
But there's no reason to share. But guess what we are experts at? Social media. And that's why we're having this conversation. Is this is what we see. And I don't know if this helps anybody understand social media a little bit better, but this is what we see. There's misinformation out there. There's people that are internet trolls that are going to just piss you off and be the expert at everything.
And I feel like it's good that we're talking about this, because in the coming weeks, months, I feel like social media is going to be even more crazier than it has been. And that's the thing, is it's like, ever since the pandemic, I feel like there has been just this insane boost in social media for news, for information, to feel like you have a better understanding of whatever topic it may be. And in the coming days, we're going to see that same wave again, because it's a breaking news. I mean, everything that's gone on with COVID. I was telling Alexis the other day, I was like, I can't tell you how many times I've walked out of my room and been like, wow, the world is just so different now.
The world is so
different now. I swear, the 2000s, man, has just been like, or the 2020s has just been like, boom, Kobe died. Boom.
Yeah.
COVID. Boom. Well, everything. It's just like so many things.
Well, this brings me to my last point, and then we can kind of, wrap this up a little bit. Is how does this relate to business? Because we're a business. How does this breaking news relate to business? Well, what we have seen is with business is two things, and I'll speak for myself, and maybe you can tell like what you've seen. But when breaking news happens, or when there's a political thing happening in social media, whether it be about gay rights or Black Lives Matter or whatever it is, or war or whatever, presidential vaccines or presidential elections, there you get companies, you get businesses that show their support and solidarity in some ways, but then you get companies that try to profit off of it. And obviously, I think that is a huge red flag when companies do that. So I think it's important to show your company of what you believe in and what type of company you are. But if there's companies out there that are using current events and things that are happening, tragic things that are happening, and you're using that as a moment and as a time to profit off of your clients,
and more so advertise
yourself off that, yeah. I don't think that's the way to go. And that's just a way of caution, because we wouldn't have this conversation if I didn't see it. And so I do see businesses out there trying to profit off of that shit.
Yeah. And more so just advertise themselves and almost take the limelight away from the tragedy or whatever
like
situation
what's happening.
It may be. Yeah.
And so one more time, I found an awesome Twitter account, and I retweeted this on my Twitter. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Morgan McKell. But there's a social media account that says their name is Social Media T, and I think it's at Sippin' Social Media T. Mm-hmm. But they said, now is not the time for marketing metaphors. This is not a memeable moment. Nothing about what's happening in Ukraine is funny. It's tragic. Cancel any scheduled post for your brand and hope that tomorrow is a better day. And I think that was just so relatable, because I think that in current events, there's going to be companies that are like, oh, let's make a meme. Oh, let's do this. And that could be about any situation that there is, not just this Ukraine thing, but any situation. And we have seen this time and time again. Yeah. But sometimes it's better to log off. Sometimes it's okay not to have to market your brand
and not have to say anything
when something's going on.
Like when something crazy is happening, sometimes silence is just the best thing. Let things chill out for a little bit and then get back to normal.
And on the flip side, the last thing that I'll say about that is, on the flip side, I have seen companies and businesses come out to offer aid, support, and resources to people in need and things that are happening. And I think that's awesome, but they're not using that as a way to profit. They're not using that as a way to gain. So if you have a company and you're thinking about doing one of those things, just have some caution on that of, are you trying to profit, or are you actually trying to help people? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I kind of want to talk about with breaking news today. And I know that's a long-winded podcast, and I think that we could even go further into that, but we'll save that for another day. Now, next week is March, and that means that we have our first guest on.
March is a busy week, or month.
March is a busy month. We have 3 interviews scheduled. Our first guest is going to be Dalton Jensen with The Thinking Project. He's an awesome guy. I've been on his podcast a couple times. We've built his website. We've done videos for him. He is a sales master. He's really good at sales. He has his own course on that, and I'm excited to talk with him about those things. Yeah. But in the meantime, where can you find us, Koa?
You can always find this podcast. The video is going to be on YouTube. As always, drops every single Tuesday. The stream itself will be on all major streaming networks, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you guys can obviously find all of our streaming platforms on our beautiful website.
Thanks, guys. Until next time, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Give us some support. It truly helps our channel grow. And can't wait to see you next week. Yeah. See ya.
See you guys.